How are you doing? Chris Finn, A2 1555. Last board meeting, I pointed out in one of the numerous news articles, you're becoming front page news again, you're all going to be famous, that the president of the board was attributed in another article claiming that things would be different this year because we've hired new management, new general manager, which translates to the new BART slogan, we really mean it this time. Right? I was looking back through past years, 1994, so if we want to compare the past with the present, you came out projecting a deficit. There was a 15% increase in ridership. General manager had a 9.8% raise. And the workers who carried that 15% ridership, what did they get in 1994? 2%. 1997, you came out projecting a deficit, 19 million. How did you settle that? You brought in Bruce Conhane to negotiate your contract. He was very bike friendly, so the new directors might be very happy with that, because in 1997, Bruce Conhane, when he negotiated with SEIU and ATU, we went out on strike that year. Does anybody know Bruce Conhane? He's the negotiator overseeing SEIU's negotiations this time. You brought him back. So there was a quote attributed to him saying, well, the strike's okay. The passengers, the 275,000 daily passengers at that point, they can just ride bikes to work. So you brought him back this time, so the bike-friendly advocates can be happy about that. 2001, what happened? The workers were 26.5% below inflation. Upper management had a 9% raise, making the general manager the highest paid general manager for public transit in the Bay Area. Of course, the workers were stated that they were being paid higher than everybody else in the country, but the truth was they were below the Bay Area cost of living. There was a 40% increase in ridership. So what was stated? You couldn't state that you had a deficit at that time. So what did you say? Increase in ridership, we have to buy new train cars. We can't give the workers a raise. Does that sound familiar? 2005, you came out offering the workers 0%, 13% cut in benefits. What did we do? We tripled our copay to medical. We came up with a plan with pay cuts to pay for our medical, guaranteed payment plan for 30 years. You shouldn't have to touch our medical for 30 years. That was 2005, that wasn't that long ago. We still lost in that contract due to inflation. 2009, we're pretty familiar with how that went. If anybody wants to help me with any of these numbers, if you know any of these numbers, what did the workers get paid in 2009? Zero! You came out again with the projected deficit, $250 million. Then, shortly before the contract was negotiated, you said we were off by a little bit, $60 million. It was actually $310 million projected deficit. We lost our two best health care plans. Again, you heard what we got paid. We lost 12.2% due to inflation over the last two contracts. Since then, what have we seen since 2009? Neil pointed out we've seen surpluses, followed by surpluses, followed by surpluses. So you start to see this pattern. Surpluses between contract negotiation years, deficit in contract negotiation years. Similar to some of these past years, what has ridership done? What are we carrying for ridership now? 400,000. Okay. So it sounds like we're doing some work here. What did the last general manager just get paid? 300,000. How much work did she do? 0. Okay. So in the meantime, since the last contract, again, ridership went up. We're carrying a lot of people. There was a hiring freeze, so there was less people to do that work. Carried all those people, interacted with more people, so who deals with that? The frontline people. That's the station agents, that's the train operators, that's the system service folks, the folks out on the front line. You've heard what they deal with. Maybe you've seen a video about it. So for us right now, it's really important to deal with some of these assaults, some of the violence that we're faced with. So what is management saying? Increase ridership. Let me see if I go back to what year was that where you said there's 40% increase in ridership, we have to buy new train cars. So now we're hearing that this big, huge increase in ridership, record-setting ridership, set a new record every single month of last year, that we can't afford to raise because we have to buy new train cars. You heard Leo asking for the real budget. In all of these years, what we've seen is understating the revenues, overstating the expenses, overstating the projected deficit. So after the last contract, when we got 4 zeros, hiring freeze, doing more work for less, the members were feeling this time that this time it's going to be different. Tom Radulovich told us it was going to be different. They expected after what they did to us last time, there's no way they can come after us again this time in that same kind of way. The truth is, it's much worse than last time. We thought it was going to be nice. General manager, we met in Hayward Yard. She brought me cake. She congratulated us for our years of service. I forget when that was. Was that not November or so? November? Somewhere around there. Turns out at that same exact time, they already had a contract with Thomas P. Hawk to negotiate our contract. It was stated that there were problems with the unions. You expected you needed to engage or hire this person because you're going to engage in traditional bargaining services, which is more adversarial. What did we see since then? Front page news attacking the workers, overstating our pay, our benefits, no attention whatsoever to the assaults that we're facing. So what we're looking for this time, a fair contract. We're looking for a contract that gets some commitment to dealing with the assaults, the violence, and the cost of living in the Bay Area, right? If there's any serious commitment to the frontline people who do this work, there shouldn't be any problem in putting in writing. So all this up and down, it makes me wonder, you know, are we on a commuter train or are we on a roller coaster? We're ready to get off the roller coaster, so thank you.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of Josie Camacho, the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Alameda Central Labor Council, and I am the second Vice President of the Labor Council. She wasn't able to come tonight, so I'm here on her behalf to read the letter that I believe she sent to each of you. We wanted it read into the record that the Alameda Central Labor Council is apprised of what's happening here and is very much in support of the workers. Dear board members, I write on behalf of the Alameda Labor Council to express our concerns over the state of negotiations between the district and SEIU Local 1021 members who help keep BART running. These workers are a vital part of the BART family. Their work is integral to getting us where we need to go safely and on time. They are the electricians, mechanics, and track workers who do the highly technical work that keeps trains running smoothly and reliably. They are the system service and utility workers that do the back-breaking work of cleaning the cars and stations, and the accountants, office workers, computer programmers, drafters, and electrical technicians who maintain the information backbone of the district. The working conditions of many of these workers are dangerous and are getting worse. There are more riders today than ever before, yet there are fewer BART workers than 4 years ago. Workers are doing more for less in unsafe conditions, including working in the dark. They've raised concerns around poor emergency lighting in tunnels, where they may have to evacuate riders in case of emergency. It's deeply troubling to learn that BART is spending resources fighting safety requirements instead of making the system safer for workers and riders. We've learned that BART recently contested an OSHA ruling that held the agency responsible for the death of a track worker and challenged a proposed requirement by OSHA that would have required BART physically pulled circuit breakers for the electrical third rail during track maintenance. Equally disturbing is the news that while the district is demanding significant concessions from the workers at the bargaining table, it continues to generously pay its former general manager, Dorothy Dugard, more than $300,000 annually. In addition to management bonuses, Ms. Dugard hasn't worked for the district since 2011. Workers sacrificed $100 million in their last contract to help the district weather the recession. Their take-home pay has been reduced by at least 11.6%. They gave back to BART during difficult times and have worked hard to contribute to make it the country's top-rated transit system. Now that the district is in surplus, it's only fair that they share in the success. They have an increase, they ask for an increase that keeps up with the cost of living in the Bay Area and enforcement of rules that protect the health and safety of both riders and workers. Because communities across the Bay Area depend on the critical work done by these workers, we fully, meaning the Labor Council, fully support their commitment to win a contract that honors their hard work and improves safety for riders and workers alike. Better working conditions for BART workers means greater service for riders. That means a stronger and better BART for all of us. We say keep some operating funds available for operating BART. That's what the public expects. It's not hard, and it doesn't have to be contentious. Respect the workers who keep BART running. Sit down and negotiate a fair contract. Get back to making the system work because the Bay Area relies on it and you. Sincerely, Josie Camacho, Executive Secretary, Treasurer, Central Labor Council, Alameda County. We represent over 100,000 working families or working class people in the Alameda County, and many of them do depend on BART to and from work. So this letter was also sent to all the electeds in the area, asking them for their support as well, for all families in the Bay Area that need this in order to get to work, to make our economy work. And I ask that you support our workers here from all the unions, because each and every one of them are an integral part of making the system work for the entire San Francisco Bay Area. Thank you.
Okay, please sit down.
Good evening, BART Board. Good evening, General Manager and staff. As the President Business Agent of ATU Local 1555, I stand here before you with members that have been injured. Those members, please raise your hand. On the job, we have been injured. I stand here before you today urging you to urge management to negotiate fairly with us. As you have already heard, BART has presented us a rubber budget. The figures are not based in any reality. We know that, they know that, and we want you to know that. The fact of the matter is, our members have health and safety issues. That is one of the key components of the proposals that we have presented. We have members here that are still suffering lingering injuries. I was injured on the job in 2003. I am still suffering from those injuries, and has caused me to limit myself in pleasurable activities I used to take part in, crocheting, driving a stick shift, and those kinds of things. I can no longer do that. The health and safety measures that we are proposing are to ensure that the workers, when they are hurt on the job, they are rehabilitated, not checked on by some nurse case manager that doesn't care anything about them, that wants to check and see if they're really injured. We need the board to understand that our members work hard every single day. Every single day. We come to work proudly. We move the passengers to and from. And we think that we deserve the raise that we are requesting. In fact, we don't think it, we know it. We know it. For the last 4 years, we have not received a pay increase. And you are expecting us to wait another 4 years? That is not acceptable. That is not reasonable. And based on what we have seen in real budget numbers and BART operating in the surplus, that is not going to happen. We want you to know that we have been fair in what we have presented. We expect management to be fair the same way. We urge you to urge management to come to the table and bargain with us fairly, not glaze over when we're talking about agents that have been punched in the face, when we're talking about system service workers that have to subdue someone to protect a passenger, not to worry about passengers, a woman who was injured seriously at Richmond Station last weekend. This is unacceptable. Our riding public deserves a safe riding transit system. Our workers deserve a safe work environment. We expect you to enforce that. We deserve to have livable working conditions, and we're not getting that right now. And what we've come up with is something that is not out of the box. It's what we deserve and what we expect. Thank you.
In case the board has not read the memos lately, we have a 96% on-time record. We have an 85% availability rate on revenue cars, the best in the United States of America. I'm really scared to think what you would do to me or to my members if we were at 70, 50%, like some places are. I know you have a proposal that you can investigate us, that you can send the cops to our houses to interview us and question us. Maybe that's what would happen. Why didn't you get that car out on time? Because some riders could not get on the system. Think about it. You want to change work rules? What are you going to squeeze out of us by changing the work rules? The work rules that we have in place right now is what got you where you are right now. It wasn't you. I don't see none of you turning a wrench. I don't see where some paper or directive that a manager puts out gets us to 96%. I spoke to a manager in regards to this issue. You know what he told me? Oh, those are the modifications we do. That's why the cars keep running at 96% on time. I think it's pretty interesting because you're trying to make those numbers a little better. You station EMTs out there, paying for them to be sitting on an ambulance all day long, just sitting there in case something happens to the public, to make sure the 96% does not go down. But you do not spend the money to make sure we have a safe clearance for our workers that are working next to 1,000 volts. So it's more important to you to have a 96% than to have our members safe and alive. In 2008, you killed one of our members. You, BART. You cut corners. You bent the rules. Afterwards, what do? You spend millions of dollars attacking Cal OSHA, the agency that exists to keep everybody in California safe, the riders and the workers. But no, you spend the money that you got from us sacrificing, giving back to you in 2009, because you got $100 million out of our backs. One of those millions of dollars you have spent to fight Cal OSHA. As an example, I came up here and spoke in regards to you spending $320,000 to contract a law firm to fight Cal OSHA. None of you cared about it. You really don't. I talked about it. Have you brought it up on the agenda ever again? Has any of you asked the question? Has any of you sent an email out saying, what the hell is happening here? John has spoken. His members are in danger. Answer to me. You have not done so. If you have, I'll challenge you to forward me that email. Have you sent it? I'd like to see you raising your hands if you have.
John, this is time for you to talk to us. So you talk to us. We're not talking back to you.
I understand. It's hard when you get challenging questions. I understand.
I just want to listen to you.
It is. I feel the same way, too. I do feel the same way.
Please let us listen.
All I'm asking is this. Treat your members with respect. Watch out over the workers. That is your job. That's what you got elected for. Watch out for the riders. Watch out for the workers. All we're asking is for a fair contract. I'm not asking for a big raise. I'm not planning to retire tomorrow. I plan to be here for the next 15, 20 years. So I appreciate if you step up, tell management, tell your general manager, be honest with the numbers, and fight for us, your workers, to make sure we get a fair contract and we are safe out there when we do our work. Thank you.
Good evening, President Radulovich and the directors, and Grace. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I'm here, we started off in negotiations, or just before negotiations, with the idea that things would be different this time. We really hoped that we would end up being able to come up with a contract early and a fair contract for both sides. It hasn't gone that way. And I don't know how much you're involved, how much you've seen, but it's very disappointing, not only to the employees, but it's going to be disappointing to the public if it comes to a strike. And none of us really want a strike, but if we have to, we're ready to. So I want to plead with you to ease up a little bit and be reasonable, or you're not at the table, but at least tell those that are at the table to ease up and be a little bit more reasonable so we can get this job done and get back to work. Thank you.